Everything came back normal. Now, if you've heard that once, you've probably heard it about 5 times. Blood work, normal. Genetic testing, totally clean. Maybe even an MRI or an EEG, normal. And your kid's still struggling. They're still melting down. They're not sleeping. And they're still stuck. And this is the truth that nobody tells you in that moment. You tested the wrong system. Now, every single test that you've run is checking either disease markers or it's taking a picture of a structure. So how something is shaped, like an x-ray, it shows you the shape of the spine. Blood work shows you if something's actively wrong at a chemical or cellular level. It's useful information, but none of it answers the one question that actually matters for a struggling kid. Is the nervous system regulating or is it still stuck? Now, that's not a disease question. It's not a structure question. It's a function question. And almost nobody is measuring it. So here's a way to picture the difference. Imagine giving someone directions and just saying, go down the road, take your first right. They might get there. They might not. But now imagine giving them turn by turn directions with landmarks all along the way. Their accuracy is going to go way up, right? They're going to get to the destination. So an x-ray is a vague version. Go down the road. It's a black and white snapshot of the spine, frozen in time. It doesn't tell you if your child's stuck in fight or flight. It can't tell you if the nerves that are controlling their gut are exhausted. It can't tell you if their system can even adapt to the stressors anymore. And we're not asking, what does the spine look like, right? We're asking, how is the nervous system actually working? Because those are two completely different questions, and only one of them actually gets you to the root of why your child's struggling. Now, the simplest way that I explain this to parents, you can think about the nervous system like the gas pedal and a brake pedal in a car. So the gas pedal is your fight or flight, sympathetic, stuck on stress, go, go, go mode. And the brake pedal, it's going to be more of our parasympathetic, our rest, digest, our growth, our healing, our regulate. Now, a healthy nervous system moves smoothly between the two. It can hit the gas when it needs it and then hit the brakes when it's time to calm down, right? Like when we need to digest a meal or fall asleep or regulate our emotions. But a dysregulated child has a gas pedal that's stuck to the floor that they can't downshift. That's why bedtime's a battle. That's why the gut never fully calms down. That's why a small disappointment or a small transition turns into a 45-minute meltdown. Their body doesn't have access to that brake pedal anymore. So this is exactly what the insight scans are built to measure, not guess at, but actually measure. You see heart rate variability. It's the range of motion of the nervous system, if you will. So it's how easily can your child's body shift from go to rest and back again. Heart rate variability or high variability means a flexible, resilient system, where low variability means that the system is stuck. Now, the surface EMG, it's a map of muscle tension all along the body. It shows us how much energy your child's having to spend just holding themselves upright. Now, some kids are burning almost everything that they have simply existing. And that's it. That's the energy that isn't available for focus and digestion or emotional regulation. Now, the thermal test, it shows us where the autonomic nervous system is struggling to control blood flow to the body. Huge for colicky babies. It's huge for kids with chronic digestive and immune issues because that thermal pattern often lines up exactly where the gut or the immune or the big time struggles have been showing up. Now, these are three different tests that answer three different questions that measure one specific system. And here's why catching this matters so much, because nervous system stress shows up on scans way before it ever shows up as a symptom. So you can kind of think about it like a weather radar. The radar is going to pick up the storm that's forming on the horizon long before the rain even hits your house, right? Symptoms are like the rain. By the time that they show up, that storm has been building for a while. And using the insight scans and scanning is how we see it coming instead of waiting to get sick. Now, this connects to something that we talk a lot about here within the office and what we call the perfect storm. It's the concept or the idea that the nervous system dysregulation in kids doesn't come from a single event. It builds. Prenatal stress and then birth trauma from C-sections or forceps or vacuums or a long and hard labor. And then early childhood stressors stack on top. Antibiotics and formula and ear infections and medications and falls. None of these are anybody's fault, but that's the stack. And that stacking is what pushes a nervous system into chronic dysregulation. Now, scans are how we see the fingerprints of that perfect storm on your specific child, not just describe the concept to you and hope that it resonates. experience. Now, these findings from scans and their history and everything that goes into a consultation ties back to something called subluxation. And I want to be really clear about what that means, because most people think it's a bone out of place or a misalignment, but it's three things that are happening together. There's the physical structural misalignment part. There's the joint aspect that's lost its normal motion. And the part that matters most is the neurological interference, the disrupted communication or altered communication from brain to body. So the thermal and the surface EMG scans, those patterns are what we find helps us understand where that interference is concentrated. And HRV tells us how deeply it's affecting the whole system. And because the autonomic nervous system also controls digestion, this is exactly where that gut-brain connection comes in. So those regional patterns on scans often line up perfectly with the gut and the immune struggles that you've been fighting for years without an answer. Here's the part that I actually love most about scanning, because I get super nerdy about it to begin with, but we don't do it just once. We rescan throughout care. And as your child's nervous system starts regulating, we watch HRV climb and change. We watch the muscle tension on EMG calm down and organize. And we watch the thermal patterns start to balance out. And usually these shifts show up before symptoms start to fully resolve. Now, it's not a sign that something's wrong. It's just the natural order of real healing. It happens from inside out and not outside in. And this is what keeps me so accountable to you, because if scans aren't moving, it's information. It means we need to change the approach. I'm not asking that you just trust me, but the data tells the truth about whether what we're doing is actually working or if we need to pivot. Now, one more thing that scans reveal, and this one often surprises quite a bit of parents, is when a child plateaus, it's often because the people that they live with or the environment that they're in is dysregulated too. And that's why sometimes we'll scan mom and dad alongside the child, because healing rarely happens in isolation. A parent's nervous system shapes the entire household's nervous system. So getting your own nervous system checked isn't separate from your child's care. It's actually a part of it. So here's what we don't guess we actually measure means. We're not just reading tea leaves. We're not just telling you that your kid needs chiropractic care because every kid needs a chiropractor. We're showing you the real objective data on how your child's nervous system is functioning right now. And then we also track it visit after visit, so you can watch the numbers move instead of crossing your fingers and hoping. So if your child's tests come back normal, but you know that deep down something isn't right, it's time to actually run the tests that looks at the system that's controlling everything else. So check the link in our bio, comment, scan below, and we'll get your family's exam onto the books. And right now that includes our $97 back to school nervous system exam.